Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it and maintain it to grow. Bill Phelan, a longtime friend. Bill, you haven't seen you in a while. You're going to bring us up what today. You have the amazing data guy with stats for PayNet and Equifax, and I certainly want to get caught up on what you're doing. And you're in an undisclosed location on the road, right, Bill?
That's it, yeah, Bob. I'm working hard, and I'll be in another undisclosed location in Skokie, Illinois, here pretty shortly. So glad to be with you today.
And out of the cold is Lance Sexton. Lance, I thought we didn't have you all week. It's great to see you. A lot of news again today, this week, Lance.
Bob, I just want to share with everybody. Yesterday helped confirm to me that I'm no longer 30 years old. I found out I heard in places that I didn't think I could ever hurt again, and I'm sore and tired, but I'm happy to be on the Coleman Report today.
Well, and to fill in the blanks, Lance is moving, and that's why you have teenage boys.
Bob, I had a moving company help me, but when you've been in a place for 17 years, you have to work almost as hard as they do to get it ready.
Oh, right. Hey, there's all the certificates. First of all, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it. We are officially entering the dog days of summer, and go back. We always get a couple new people. These are certificates you can download, fill out. It answers the question for your regulators as well as SBA, what you are doing for training in this half hour certainly counts. We love to ask poll questions. So let's go to the first one. The first one is, did small business lending in June up, down, stay the same?
Well, Bob, just from my walk, the request for small business loans took a nice little increase during the month of June.
Yeah, and I think these came from PayNet. Oh, look at that, increase, decrease. Bill, what's the answer?
Yeah, well, you know what? Great insights by the audience, and I think the Coleman Report's got it here. There's actually a slight decrease versus last year, but it was really an impressive kind of rebound, and right. The roller coaster ride's continuing for small business access to capital.
And we noticed we said small business lending, and we're including all small business lending in that. Bill, I'm not going to throw you. I'm going to throw you a curveball because I don't know the answer. I've been doing this for a number of years. We just can't get together on a definition of a small business. In your analysis, your data, what do you consider to be a small business?
That's right, Bob. It's tough because there's 30 million of them, and there's no uniformity. But what we do find is that their access to capital. So the ones that have $1 million or less in credit in our world qualifies to be a small business. And that covers just a huge population, huge number of companies.
Right. I do know on PPP, but over 90% got loans less than 150. But they're talking about increasing 7A up to 10 million. And once you're talking about $10 million 7A, you're now middle market. You're not small business, right, Lance?
Well, it makes me excited, Bob, to hear 10 million, and I hope that happens because there are a number of opportunities. They're what I call bigger small businesses that qualify as a small business under SBA guidelines, but may have larger credit needs.
What do you think's going on with delinquencies, gang? Are we increasing, decreasing, or staying the same? And now, we're talking about all small business delinquencies, which would also include vendor payments, et cetera, et cetera. So now this isn't just lending. But what is the health of Main Street?
I've got to believe, Bob, that it's increasing.
Yeah. Bill, what do you say?
That's exactly right. You nailed it. Really surging, actually. We see up 70 basis points over last year, and the default rates are the highest they've been since 2011. So there's a lot of emerging financial stress going on out there.
Now, we're apolitical in our editorial stance here, but do you see an economic rebound fixing those numbers, or are we in for the long haul?
Well, just kind of common sense approach, PPP is a great program and it's helping, but it's if this COVID keeps on going, companies just kind of run out of money. And the longer this goes on, the more, I think, stress it's going to put on the system. So, I think we all know that small businesses just don't keep a lot of cash lying around. And so they just don't have the deep pockets that the big corporations have. And I think, again, we could see some emerging financial stress, and that could continue here.
As I keep
Well,
saying,
Bob,
go ahead, Lance.
also the CARES Act payments are going to run out soon, so it will be interesting in the SBA servicing arena what happens when the CARES Act payments stop. I mean, many businesses are going to be fine. Many businesses, the CARES Act payments really didn't keep them in business. They're doing fine without them. But there are a number of businesses that I think are currently being propped up by the CARES Act payments.
Yeah, and if you're a restaurant in LA or Orange County in Southern California, you're not doing well at the moment. I know there are, Lance, in Arkansas, you said you can still, Southern California, you can't eat outside. So we're all...
Well, I was sharing a good news story before we started. My dad has a large restaurant facility that he operated a restaurant in for 30 years. He was able to lease it. They're opening Monday. It's a restaurant that when he had it at capacity could hold 300 people. The new restaurant only needs 50 to 60 people at a time, and with social distancing and the restrictions, they're going to be fine in that building.
Have you talked to the new owners? Just out of curiosity.
Yes, we have talked to new owners.
Tell me what their thought process is. Why did they think this is a good time to open a restaurant?
Well, it is a franchise restaurant, and it's normally in a much smaller footprint than this restaurant has. But as a result of my dad having it paid off for years, he was able to offer them an attractive lease rate. Their thought is they need 30 to 40 people in the restaurant, and they need to turn it 3 times a day to be profitable. Well, you've got 300-person capacity. Currently in Arkansas, restaurants are at 50%. So you've got 150-person capacity in this restaurant, and they only need 50 or 60 turned 3 times
nice.
to be profitable. So they feel good about it.
What about staffing? What's your employment situation looking like in Northwest Arkansas?
Well, Northwest Arkansas continues to do well because Walmart is headquartered there, as well as J.B. Hunt, and both of those companies are doing extremely well. So there was not a big surge in unemployment. There was a surge in unemployment in the hospitality industry there, but many of those people were able to find employment in other places. They're not immune, but having Walmart in your neighborhood, Walmart corporate, makes a big difference in the employment numbers.
Last poll question. This is sort of one I picked out, just out of curiosity. I believe that some of these, we should know these numbers to put things in perspective. This is a Victoria's Secret's flagship store in Manhattan. And what do you think they're paying a month? And 41% of you got it right, over $973,000 a month. Lance, that's a huge overhead.
My dad taught me, and he's been the source of a lot of my knowledge of entrepreneurship, that your building costs, whether it be rent or loan payment, never needs to exceed 20% of revenue for the business operating there to be profitable and give the owner, and he would never go to 20%, my dad wouldn't, but it doesn't really need to exceed 20% of revenue. So in this case, Bob, you're saying that Victoria's Secret needs to do $5 million a year or more.
Well, I'm not
and
saying
maybe they do.
They're not paying their rent. So
well, that's probably the case. But when I look at a small business, quite often, Bob, I look at that building cost and what they're projecting in revenue to make a determination whether the business plan is sound or not.
Bill, bring us up to date on what PayNet does. It's been a while since you and I have talked. I want to know what you do. You have amazing data. And what products do you have available for lenders?
Well, Bob, I mean, if you're not helping out with PPP, then you're kind of on the sidelines. So what we've done is kind of wire together a whole bunch of data, the payroll data, We put together the utility data, the rent data. We put it all into one report so the business can get their loan forgiveness automated. And we're offering that to the banks as a way to automate and to get greater clarity and certainty around that forgiveness. I mean, I think we all know that the banks would love to just get a streamlined process there. We're all waiting for guidance on that, but we have wired together all that data to make it easier for the banks to get that loan forgiveness done.
Bill, I went out on a limb, and I am out of the prognostication business. I said, this is going to be taken care of before they go on recess. Lance, they went on recess.
Yeah, the only thing we're really waiting on, and I have customers call me on a daily basis, we're waiting to see if there's simplified forgiveness on loans under a certain size, probably $150,000.
Yeah.
Those loans that are above 150, I think whichever form is appropriate, the 3508 or the 3508EZ, they need to go ahead and complete the form, gather the supporting documents, and submit it.
Lance, you'd appreciate this, both of you. I have a good friend of mine. He runs a publishing company, and he got a PPP loan. Guess how much his loan was for, Lance? $160.
Oh, my. Well, Bob, I love that because I had a call today from a borrower who had a friend who had a $151,000 PPP loan.
You win. What do we got here? Tell us about 70 basis points. What's going on? Now, when you do these delinquencies, first of all, tell us what the bucket is and tell us what's happening, Bill.
Yeah, well, I mean, going back to that question about the real estate in New York City, I mean, retail, let's just take that one, for example. I mean, we're really seeing that segment take a big hit right now, and you'd expect that. We're seeing their borrowings go way down, and we're seeing their delinquencies go way up and defaults go way up. But what we do see is not all industries are created equal here, and we're seeing some industries actually are winners right now. Certainly, I think everybody with shelter in place has gotten sick of their kitchen, and so there's a lot of construction going on right now. Believe it or not, there's a lot of.
I know there is.
Yeah, we're seeing that in the numbers. I mean, the amount of borrowings by construction companies are actually up, and the risk is fairly moderate when you look at it. So that's a winner segment. But then we see, obviously, the transportation segment taking a pretty big hit right now, which I think is kind of curious because there's a whole bunch of goods being shipped back and forth and whatnot. But I think that just reflects the overall economy just slowing down some. And so there's winners and losers, and I think PPP has been a tremendous lift to, kind of the interim. But the question is, where do we go from here?
Right, and it's too bad Congress couldn't get together. As I said, there's smarter people than me that say it will happen. It'll happen on bipartisan, but they couldn't come to terms at this point in time. But especially California, you have 2.0, and you have other places that, and I apologize, I don't have those stats at my fingertip, but a lot of people have run out of their PPP money, Lance.
Well, and part of the legislation that's being proposed is a second shot at PPP. And there are a number of specific business types that need a second shot at PPP to have an opportunity to survive.
Bill, I'm going to put you on the spot. You and I talk a year from today, God willing. What's this headline going to read? What's the headline going to read?
I think it's going to be the comeback kid. I think these businesses are resilient. They're innovative. They don't sit around. They're adapting already. I mean, I've been to several businesses, and I think Lance talked about that with the restaurant. I went to my dentist, a healthcare provider, a week ago, and it was amazing how they've adapted, and they're getting people back in. You feel safe when you go in there. So I think it's going to be the comeback kid. We're all adapting, and there's going to be a whole new kind of economy we're going to be looking at next year.
Bill, tell us about, you have some free offerings for lenders. Tell us about those, and you also have a paid product. Give a little elevator pitch on what you can offer for lenders.
Well, yeah, Bob, what we do is we run the largest credit database on small business in America. We've got information on every one of those 30 million small businesses. And that helps our customers underwrite faster. It helps them manage risk. It helps them grant more credit and get more earning assets to their customer base. You're right, Bob. We do also give away a lot of information. And I go to sbinsights.com. There's a lot of industry statistics on, Iowa. It's kind of crazy.
Stuff.
It's a little bit over the top. We're propeller heads. We try to, put a lot of data out there, but we like data. Yeah, we like data.
And tell us about your corporate structure. You co-founded this, but you recently were acquired, merged. Tell us who owns you now.
Yeah, that's right. I founded PayNet 20 years ago on the premise to help small businesses access to capital. About a year ago, I merged PayNet with Equifax's commercial business, and now it was kind of a reverse merger. They're calling it a reverse merger, and why is that? Well, because the PayNet platform is actually running the commercial business now. And so we've combined all those assets, and that's why we can say that we've got about $4.5 trillion of credit that we're tracking every month on these 30 million businesses. So it moved the business ahead 5 to 7 years and helped to, further that mission to get help capital access for small and medium-sized companies.
Well, we're definitely going to have you back on and tell us what's going on through the end of the year. But check what is SBAinsight.com. It's a great it's a great resource and a lot of in-depth information on that. So we really appreciate you coming and sharing that with us. Lance, we got a couple of offerings here. Tell us about the webinar that you're doing next week.
Well, we're going to talk about the top 10. Well, we're going to talk about the packaging fee rules complete. Guys, I apologize. I don't have COVID, but I have a lot of dust. I have a lot of dust from moving.
A lot of dust. Yeah, I figured that one. Yeah.
We're going to talk about the SBA Form 159 and completing it, and what the requirements are from SBA's perspective. And SBA gets pretty particular if there's an agent involved in an SBA loan and you don't report properly on the SBA Form 159.
Oh, absolutely. And the previous slide is we've come out with our new newsletter, and we've made it concise for your board of directors and for your C-suite on what they need to know. It's unlimited. You can send it to anybody you want in your institution. So unlimited site license. And we wanted, for example, your director doesn't need to know how to document equity injection or how to document the 159, but they do need to know why it's important in what SBA is looking at.
Absolutely.
Very good. Well, with that, gentlemen, thank you so much. That concludes our week. We will definitely be back next week. And thank you for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time. Thanks, guys.
Have a great weekend.